Real Estate Roundup
with Realtor Nagaraj Annaya every Sunday from 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. PST on Bolly 92.3 FM.
Hello, Beria.
Hello.
Hello, Poojaji. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I don't know. I was just trying to set up my laptop. Sorry about that. Good morning, Bay Area. We are here with Nagaraj Annaya. We are going to be talking about real estate. So, welcome to 92.3 FM radio listeners. This is Pooja welcoming you on Real Estate Roundup with Nagaraj Annaya, brought to you by the owner of nagarajhomes.com, your one-stop shop for all your needs, buying, selling, refinancing, investing in real estate. So each week we come here and shine the light on what's going on in Bay Area's crazy real estate market. And Nagaraj is your trusted Bay Area tech realtor who brings his insight and advice to peer. If you have any questions or concerns on how to find your way through real estate market, I am very sure Nagaraj is the person to talk to and ask lots of questions because he has a tremendous amount of knowledge about real estate. You can definitely call us in the studio. The number is 408 912 5038. Once again, our studio lines are also open right now. If you have any questions regarding real estate, you can give us a call. It's 408 912 5038. Hello, Nagaraj. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing really good, Bay Area. How are you guys all doing? Thank you, each and everyone, for participating on last week's Bay Area Real Estate Connect. It was a wonderful show and full packed. I can tell you, Poojaji, lot of people came in. They each and I was seeing the notes, getting the notes, writing down what's going on, each topics what we were discussing in. There was a lot of interest. I can tell you, like the tax saving steps from Sanjeev Gupta ji, and EB1 name, right? ADUs, all this, lot of people were there, and thank you for each and everyone to make this event in such a successful. Hope you guys have benefited from that. Now let's talk about the Bay Area real estate, right? I think if you guys have any questions on the real estate, okay, and if you're planning to buy, you're already in a contract, or you want to buy a house, is it a right time to buy a house for me? Is it right time to sell a house? Correct. A lot of people, circumstances changes, right? Like for example, they already have a one house, okay, and they want to, maybe they have 1,200 square footage, okay. How do I go and upgrade it to a 2,500 square footage or a 3,000 square footage? It's very few options are available for a 2,500 square footage homes, right, in the Bay Area single family homes. If you have any questions, do reach out. We are live now in Bolly 92.3. Poojaji, you can give out the number.
Yes, definitely. So our studio lines are, as Nagaraj said, is open right now. The number is 408 912 5038. Once again, the number is 408 912 5038. And Nagaraj is going to talk to us about real estate market here in 92.3 FM. And I think, Nagaraj, a lot of people are like, okay, I want the house, I got the house. What's going on? Like, what are my steps? What do I need to do?
I think let's put it this way, right? Like maybe they have gotten a house few years back, right? Like when they bought it, it was like they bought it for 1,200, right? There is 1,200 square footage or a 1,400 square footage. The family size was smaller, right?
Yeah.
And now they want to upgrade it to a bigger house. How do you go with it, right? Like, so can they need to sell their first house, or how do they approach for the second house buying, right? So it all comes down to two things we need to think about it, right? Like the first is like the income wise, what is their currently income, Correct. So recently, one of my client in Evergreen, right, like they had a 1400 square footage home, but they wanted to buy something closer to 2200 square footage, and their preference was at 2 floors because they already had a single floor. But their family, the kids like to stay in the stairs and that kind of stuff, right? Like they wanted to Nagaraj. They called me up, Nagaraj. I want to buy 2 floor homes, okay, and Evergreen area. Okay, so how did we approach it, right? Like the first thing is the income wise. Before even going to the income wise, if you have the first house, and it depends on how much is your monthly payment for the first house. If you give it for a rental property, does it makes a breaks even for you?
Yeah.
If you are going in a deficit, for example, your monthly payments are $3,000, right? Like every monthly payments are $3,000, but you get a rental about 2,000, then you are deficient by $1,000. But if you get a 4,000 rental, then you're a positive of $1,000, right? Like that's what you need to look out. Your first house, is it going to be a positive cash flow or negative cash flow, right? So if it's in a positive cash flow, then it becomes then you will be considering your income wise, how much the husband and wife makes together. If it is going to be a negative flow, then your overall income would be reduced. For example, you make in 200K and every month is like, let's put it on 15,000 every month, right? Then you're a deficient by $1,000 already. So your monthly payment would be just a 14,000 now. So you can borrow only up to a 7,500. In a 15,000, it's a 50, you can qualify only up to 49% debt to income ratio. It's a DTI, debt to income ratio. If you can do a only 7,500 borrowing, in that $1,000, you are reducing it because of a negative cash flow. Okay, so your borrowing only is the 6,500. So you need to work on how much is your monthly payment every that's where you come up with your math wise, right? Once you understand how much you can borrow in to buy your second house, you can do with your 10% down or even a 20% down. It comes down to your showing is in a primary residence, because your first house would be in a rental and the second house would become your primary residence now. Okay, so once you understand how much you can qualify for your second house based on your rental income of your first house, then you need to start shortlisting your house. And once you basically have a 10% or a 20% down, right? If you have a lot of stocks, it again depends on, do you want to sell your stocks to put it as your down payment? That also you need to figure it out, because when you're selling it in your stocks all in one together, you'll be paying higher taxes for that, right? So you need to work with your CPA, understand if I split it, for example, I can do a 10% down right now this month, this year, but the next year I can do another 10%. Then you can go with a 10-10-80 program. That is like you can borrow 80% as a one loan, another 10% as interest only loans. Some of the lenders even give with a PMI option. Okay, instead of doing a 10-10-90, there would be a 90 plus 10, because another remaining would be a PMI would be paying in. Listeners, we are discussing a lot of stuff on buying your second house if you already have the first house, and if you have the situation similarly, and if you have any question on the real estate, do reach out. We are live on a Bolly 92.3 and our number is 408. Poojaji, I forgot the number. You can give
No,
the
408-912-5038. Once again, the studio lines are open, and Nagaraj is talking about if you are thinking of buying a second house, what steps you should consider before deciding what kind of house you should buy for a second house. So if you are looking to invest in real estate, or you are thinking of buying or selling, you can definitely give us a call right now, 408.
I think it's not only buying, right? If you have any questions on the selling, and for
buying and
example,
selling.
if they want to in the next year, if they're thinking, is it the right time to buy or sell? Because November and December, I can tell you, is the best time for the buyers.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
it's a best time to buy because the prices starts dipping in. Only thing is like might be only few homes are in the inventory. If you like that, then it's the best time to buy.
Yeah.
You can bargain for a great price. I was reading out one article recently. Okay. Before jumping into the our second current discussion, right, whatever it is, in one of the discussion, is there any right time to buy a house or sell a house? Or maybe we can put it as, is there any a right time? Right?
Mhm.
There is nothing called a right time. Okay. Because you go and ask 10 people who have not bought a house, they would be telling that don't buy the house. Okay. If you go and ask people who have bought a house, they would say that buy the house.
Buy the house,
Okay.
yes.
It all depends on with whom you're talking in. Correct.
Mhm.
If you moved from India recently, like maybe a 3 years or a 4 years back, okay, you are in this apartment complex, right? You think that they are the world for you, okay, and you keep staying there, but you don't even realize that you all your friends and the neighbors around your house, they start moving in.
Mhm.
Okay, at the end of the day, after 10 years, you think, oh God, I'm still stuck here. Okay, but all your friends around all have already moved on. Okay, don't even think about like all the neighbors around in your community are the one who stays for you always, right? Always you need to plan for your life, what is good for you. Okay, don't think on the dependency on the others. It's yesterday I was talking to one of my client called me up, Nagaraj, like my kid has got used to this community so much, but I don't want to live, can I buy something in this community itself? No, it's not possible, because it's only thing in that community. If the how they're selling it, it's okay. If they're not selling, and my first question to him was, is all your neighbors are the same from the last 7 years, 8 years?
Yeah.
No, right? It's then why are you depending on that? In this country, nothing is permanent out of it. You should plan for your future then. Okay.
Yeah.
That is where the realtors like me talking to them will understand, make you understand what is a right fit for you.
Mhm.
Okay. For example, you can't buy now, but you can't move in if after you buy it. You can buy it for a rental property.
Mhm.
Correct. Rental property is also a better fit for you. But only thing is that once you go for the rental property, the down payment might go up for you instead of a 20%, 30%. Always the invest people are telling don't Bay Area prices are so high. That is the same thing I'm hearing from the last 25 years.
Yeah.
But can you find a houses for a 1 million right now anywhere? Only few homes. Today morning I was checking in Santa Clara area. Are there anything for a 1 million single family homes?
Very,
No.
very true. Yeah.
There are no homes at all. You might find something which is might be a 700 square footage, 600 square footage homes, but are you going to stay there? As a first time home buyer, you can't do it. Maybe as an investor,
Mhm.
correct? So you can buy it. Okay. So tax seasons are coming in now for the next year. A lot of people got an RSU vested. Okay, that is where you missed out the discussion last week. Okay, where I was discussing with Sanjeev Gupta, right? What are the short-term rental benefits?
Mhm.
How can you save your tax? That's where you need to talk to the CPA and realtor and understand if there is any kind of a way where you can save your taxes from that.
Mhm.
What are the best benefits for you buying your second home, right? As an investment property.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you have any questions, if you're planning to buy, or like if you have what are the things on that Bay Area real estate, you have a lot of questions, but where to start? It can be any smaller question also. You can give us a call. We are live on Bali 92.3 now. Pooja ji, you can give the
Number
number.
is 408-912-5038. Once again, our studio lines are open, and the studio number is 408-912-5038.
And let's go back to the first thing what we were discussing on the buying a second property as your primary residence, right? Like first you understand what are the requirements for your second house, because you can't make the same mistakes what you bought it for the first house, and your family size might have grown up and your requirements have changed up. List down each and every requirements. The one family which I was discussing you in the beginning, right? So they were thinking about adding another 600 square footage to their current house. But the time it takes to add the 600 or 700 square footage, it takes them more than a year. and even the budget for a 500K more, right? So that is where they came out. No, it becomes hard for them to add another 500 square footage or a 600 square footage. Then they realized, okay, let's buy a second house if they meet their current requirements. Okay. Based on their requirements, we narrowed down the second house. We understood what their income level was, and up to the income level wise, we were able to narrow down what is the maximum purchase price we can go for it. Okay. Once we narrow down the maximum purchase price, okay, once their offer gets accepted, right, that is where you basically start listing your first house for the rental, because you would have told to the mortgage lender saying that your first house would be listed out for rental before closing. So what we need for the first house would be maybe a first month of a deposit, right? And a rental agreement being signed between you and a tenant. So that would be considered as a proof of your future rental. Okay. So once you basically put an offer and then you put your 3% EMD, then the loan process starts. Once the loan process starts, before basically lenders signs out, you need to be giving out a rental agreement, and you need to be showing your your first month deposit. Okay, that is where we consider it as a rental, future rental. So that is why when you're buying a second house, first list down what is your requirements. Okay, because your first kid might be going to an elementary, or they might be going elementary to a middle school right now, right? Or it might be an high school is necessary for you. Okay, as I told you, maybe like instead of a 3 bedrooms, you might need in a 5 bedrooms right now, right? Your parents visiting pretty often nowadays, like maybe, right? Like, so that way you might have a 1 bedroom in the downstairs. Okay, so that's what you need to be looking in. And one more is a backyard. How big is the backyard you might be needing it, right? Like you might be needing a bigger backyard because the kids might be playing around more, or your families or friends might be coming out, and you might be throwing out the parties more, right? So all these things we need to be shortlisting when you're doing in a second house. Okay, and when we're discussing on all these aspects, let's talk about the closing cost. What is the closing cost, and how much is the closing cost typically comes down to it? Okay, and if you're doing a 2 loans, will the closing cost increases, right? So the closing cost to start with includes a various components. One is the appraisal fees. Okay, that is where the appraisal fees would be paid upfront. Once your offer gets accepted, you pay basically to the lender the appraisal fees. Appraisal fees is paid to the third party appraiser who comes and checks what is your current value of your home. The value of the home is based on the recent comparables, the square footage, and how the house is it. Okay, that's where the appraiser comes and checks out. And then a few more closing cost is loan processing fees. The loan processing fees is typically is a $990 to $1,500. That would be varies from the lender to a lender. Okay, and some lenders might, when they're giving it with a lower interest rate, right, they might charge you for upfront cost for the loan. The cost typically for the loan might be a 0.5% or a 0.25% of the loan. So you need to be charging before finalizing the lender. You need to be understand what are the fees associated to the loan, because if you're going to pay like a 5,000, 6,000 for the loan cost, right, that is too much high for you. So you need to negotiate this with the lender early on. So once these are all the loan fees associated. Okay, in the loan fees, there's few more called like credit, like basically you'll be paying for the credit processing fees, right? All this will typically comes down to a 2,000 to a 2,500. Watch out for that. And the second thing is, depending on the county where you're closing, it is in a Alameda County, it might be in a Santa Clara County, the cost of the closing cost varies. Some things are paid by a seller, some things are paid by buyer. So that all comes down to how your realtor is writing an offer and how you're negotiating with the seller. Sometimes the seller might say that I pay for these fees. Sometimes the buyer might say I pay for these fees. It comes down on the negotiation. So that is where even the closing cost can go up or down. Okay, and even the closing cost even includes your first month interest only. For example, let's assume you're closing on a December 15th, right?
Mm.
So you're going to pay interest only from December 15th to a 31st. So that is interest also included.
Okay.
And sometimes even you pay for the taxes also. So all these things comes as a part of the closing cost. Typically it is around close to 1% of the purchase price. For example, you're buying for 1.6, then you're typically you might be closing cost might be a 14,000 to a 15,000. That includes your first month of an interest and the property taxes sometimes. Okay, so you need to watch out for that. And it again depends on the closing cost includes when is your house is closing or when is the loan gets funded. Sometimes when your loan gets funded on first month of the purchase, right, like then then your closing cost might go up.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're closing on 30th of the December, then you're just paying a 2 days of an interest only. So you need to watch out for all this. So the closing cost component might vary when you're closing it also. So all this needs to be understood properly.
Got it.
Okay, so don't get panicked because initial disclosures, whenever you sign in, the lender might be saying you the initial sending you the initial disclosure, what might be your final cost, but that might not capture all the fees, but it will just give you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But before closing, there you get a final closing estimate from the lender. So that would have captured in all the fees, and that gives you the final fees what would be.
Mm-hmm.
So listeners, if you have any questions on the closing cost, okay, and if you're planning to buy a house or sell a house, right, you can reach out to us. We are live on a Bolly 92.3 right now. And Pujaji, you can give the numbers to call.
The number for our studio is 408-912-5038. Once again, our number in the studio here is 408-912-5038. And we have just 5 minutes, Nagaraj. So,
Yeah, I think let me complete the what all the closing cost, right? Like one is the appraisal fees, and that appraisal fees, I told you what is that appraisal fees, and a credit report. Like for example, if you want the lender is running the to get a credit report, right? They might charge you around $75, and then might be a tax services that's around might be a $9 to a $10 again. That's sort of a smaller component. The higher component, let me talk about the higher component. That is a prepaid interest, and the next one is the homeowners insurance, right? Homeowners insurance, typically you pay for a 12 months. That is also part of the closing cost. And the underwriting fees, which is typically around $995. And sometimes they do a verification of an employment, which might again cost you around 170 to a $200, depending on the lender to a lender. And then there's a processing fees also. Some lenders might charge and some lenders might not charge. If you're carrying a second loan, then there might be some more like processing fees for the second loan also. So that is the one thing you need to watch out for. And there might be a kind of a lender's title. Let me talk about, there are two kinds of title insurance policies: lender's title insurance policies and the homeowner's title insurance policy. Homeowner's title insurance policy is like basically it covers for the buyer. If there is any liens in the property in the future, if something issue comes up with the title of the property, right, then that is where the homeowner's title insurance will cover for it. Lender's title insurance will help for the lenders to cover for it. Okay, during the offer, depending on the county to county, sometimes we would have negotiated seller to pay for it, homeowners, but the lender's title insurance typically is paid from the buyer. Okay, so it is like typically on 1,800 to a $2,500. Again, depends on the lenders to the lender and the purchase price and everything. So watch out for that title insurance policies also. And one more thing is like notary fees. For example, during the closing, the notary will come and do a signing at your home. So that is typically around $200 to a $150, depend again notary. If they're doing a two loans, then they might charge you another $50 for the getting all your documents to be signed. Notary is very, very important during the closing because they make sure your all your whatever you're signing right now from beginning, right? So the names matches. And they give you all the documents to be signed, wet signatures. Okay, they come and do at your home, or maybe you can meet at somewhere at the Starbucks or even in the escrow offices to get you all the notarized, all the documents to be notarized. That is typically around $200 again, and there might be a city transfer taxes might be there, correct? So all this inclusive, the closing cost might be around, as I told you, 1% of your purchase price. Okay, but again, it might go a little bit higher or down depending on when is your closing day. If it is it a first of the month, or at the end of the month, depending on that.
Yeah.
So buying a house typically involves a lot of steps, okay, and lot of negotiations, as we discussed, right? So you need to work with the right realtor. It's not only about giving out, right, extra money to you. It's about giving out how we can negotiate the right price for you. If you're thinking, is this the right time to buy? Yes, November and December are typically good time for the buyers to buy, because a lot of people are on holiday mood. They might be going around, so you get only a few buyers out there, but you can negotiate it. I think we're running out of time, Pujaji, and if you have any questions and you want to call us after the show, you can always reach out to me at nagrajhomes.com, or you can give me a call at 858-880-4577. It's 858-880-4577.
Yeah, so thank you, listeners. If you were not able to ask any questions to Nagaraj today, during this time, you can always give him a call. He just mentioned his number, which is 858-880-4577. You can
Thank you
also
so
follow,
much. I
yeah,
think
you
we are
can
running out
also
of.
follow him on Instagram, and you can listen to his podcast on Apple and Google. And have a nice rest of your day. Thank you and bye.
Thank you.